We move on from the guy that eats the live pigeons to a professional wrestling match. Luke Gallows with Carl Anderson against Frankie Kazarian. And honestly, except for the fact that the referee is just completely incompetent, this was a standard Monday Night Raw match from 2005. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing to write home about. At one point, I got a kick out of Gallows. Kazarian's punching him in the head. Boom, boom, boom. And he took the 2 seconds in between getting punched to zip up his vest at one point. But finally, Anderson interfered right in front of useless referee. What is his name? Rick Cox. Nice. And he pretended to be distracted. And Anderson then or Gallows hit his finish. 1, 2, 3. So that was that. But then it got really, really bad. They start to get heat after. And all of a sudden, Gallows and Anderson are kicking the shit out of Kazarian, and music starts playing, and the heels just stop. But it's Twinkle Toes' music. But they still stopped. If they're kicking the shit out of the guy, why do they stop when their own fucking guy's music starts playing? But out comes Twinkle Toes. And by the way, what did you call Don Callis last week? You said he looked like a penis in a suit.
Yeah.
That's why somebody on the internet has now named him Don Phallus. So out comes
That's great.
Twinkle Toes
That's
and
great.
Don Phallus. And they talk their way to the ring. And here's the thing again. It turns into the South Park episode about wrestling. The heels are kicking a shit out of the babyface in the ring. The music plays. They stop. Out comes Twinkle Toes and Don Phallus with a microphone talking their way to the ring. Kazarian is still having to lay there. And nobody's doing anything. He's laying there. Nobody's touching him. Nobody's coming to stop these people that have taken over the show. Jim Ross says, is this martial law? He knows when this shit's happening. And then Twinkle Toes actually said to Kazarian, "Welcome to my humble abode," said the spider to the fly. And now they're all abusing Kazarian. There's no referees coming out. There's no bell ringing. There's no security guards coming out. The announcers are just fucking... And then Twinkle Toes, did you hear him screw up his line? And I thought this was a work in some way. I said, this couldn't be this blatant or this plain. There's going to be something dealing with this later on. And no, it was. He just forgot. He was supposed to say, how does it feel that the hunter has become the hunted? But he said, how does it feel that the hunter... And then he stopped. And how does it feel that... And then Callis went over and whispered in his ear, the hunter has become the hunted. And then he said it. How does it feel that the hunter has become the hunted? And they're all standing there about to kill Kazarian. Nobody, obviously, in the whole company cares. He's got nobody coming out to help. No referees, no security, no wrestlers. The announcers are just saying, oh, well, shucks. It was nice while it lasted, but I guess they're going to kill Kazarian. And then here comes Page's music, and here comes Adam Page walking out again with the drink in his hand. It's so... If you're a goddamn raging alcoholic in the throes of end-stage fucking cirrhosis of the liver, and you've got to go fight somebody to take up for a friend, you're going to put your drink down. It's so phony and so stupid. But what he does is he fucking rolls in the ring. Kazarian rolls out. Page hands Phallus his fucking drink and starts fighting the heels. But they stop him. And they get heat on him. And then here comes, you guessed it, the dork order. Here's Gallows is a 6'6", 300-pound man. Here's Anderson. Here's the world champion of their company and of penis in a suit. And they have to run from miscellaneous masked job guys with Sharpie markers on their chests and Colt Cabana. I don't even know if Colt was in there. I never know. I think he just ducks down and only pops up to get his check. And excrement on commentary. It's the Dork Order to even the odds. There's twice as many of the Dork Orders there was the heels. So now all the baby faces outnumber and beat up the fucking heels. But they made Carl Anderson take all the bumps. What the fuck was this segment all about? Help me.
The whole segment, I don't know. I didn't care at all about the match. Despite everything they've done with Frankie Kazarian, it didn't seem like the fans there were really into the whole elite hunter gimmick. They didn't even call him that when he came to the ring, or at least Justin Roberts did and the announcers did.
Maybe if he moved to Japan, they would care about because their whole, everybody involved in this company and apparently all the fans of this company have the fantasy that one day they will move to Japan where they can see Riho every day.
I don't think anyone cares about Gallows. To me, this was like seeing, I don't know, what was the DOA? 8-Ball against Leaf Cassidy on Raw. Like, this is just a match here.
Ooh. Not even Skull, but 8-Ball?
And then they associate the main event program with this. And I'm sorry. I don't feel as strongly as you about Omega. I've said it, but to me, he feels like an Intercontinental Champion, not a World Champion. He doesn't look like a World Champion. He doesn't act like a World Champion. And he gets more and more, gimmicky's not the word, just more cartoonish as a heel each week. To the point where it's just silly. It's just, again, this is their version of Raw as opposed to a new take, a modern take on pro wrestling.
Well, yeah, you've said it. It's like a Disney Channel villain, right? So if they clearly said we're going to do a wrestling show for children under 12 or 13 that, could be scared or offended by real villains, that may be said, but then they have real violence and real blood. So the program is aimed for a childlike mentality, but featuring shit that children shouldn't see and that adults think is silly, except for the adults who think like children. Possibly a low IQ audience.
And Adam Page never runs to the ring. He always has to have a little drink. He was spilling it on himself as he walked to the ring before he handed it off. I don't know. And you associated the Dork Order with the main event feud. The Bucks were lucky. They weren't even there this week.
No, we were lucky.
Yeah, they were lucky too. They weren't there this week, but we were lucky too. I wasn't. This whole segment sucked to me. And if I could say one thing to go back to the Jericho segment real quick.
Go ahead.
I think Jericho versus Nick Gage will probably be the easiest match Jericho could have because he is struggling, like you said, working in these matches. He's struggling with the basic things, and he's an older guy, and he's not in shape anymore. I think a death match against Nick Gage more than likely would be the easiest thing for him to do.
Well, but okay, easy, because, I mean, you can have a death match with no talent whatsoever. I could have a fucking death match if I was willing to be sliced open and hit with shit. But the thing, what's harder on Jericho? Having an athletic match or rolling around with all those gimmicks and sharp things where something could happen and you got to trust this fucking drug-addled bank robber to protect you? Fuck that. It'd be safe against somebody that knew what they were doing to have a street fight kind of weapons match, but not a Nick Gage kind of match. I'm sure that they will be telling him to tone it down for television and for Jericho's well-being, but then you don't get the full human scum experience. You get Nick Gage light.
If you're booking Nick Gage,
it's a ridiculous idea.
If you're booking Nick Gage and you know he has his pizza cutter, do you try to get a sponsorship with a Domino's or a Papa John's for next week's Labor of Jericho match?
No, you don't, for the same reason that somebody asked me that when I first went to the WWF. They said, have you ever tried to get a sponsorship with a tennis racket company? I said, why would they sponsor me when I'm hitting people over the head that the fans love with it in order to fuck them out of money and championships? And they're like, yeah, you may be right. Then they started spray painting because I'd just get my rackets at fucking Walmart, right? It'd say Wilson or whatever. They started spray painting the logo off the racket. I'd carried it on TBS for fucking 6 years at that point, but WWF was like, oh, that's a logo. Oh, good Lord. Anyway,